A new console that uses cartridges? Interesting. So, cartridges. Something that a lot of people probably these days don't even know what a cartridge is, or they've heard about it. You know, a cartridge. You remember this nice thing? You could hold it in your hand. You know, there's pins at the end of it. This was the game. This right here was the game. You didn't have any fucking patches. There was nothing. Slide it in, and then on the next side you click it down, and that's it. You play. Now, of course, newer stuff like the 3DS, they can patch on the system because they're newer, but really, the game is self-contained. It plays right off here. It's very, very fast, and it was a technology for a very long time. Then around, of course, the PlayStation time, 3DO time, right in those eras, optical, disc. Of course, this is a newer game. And of course, it has, the disc isn't in there, but it's in the Xbox, but it's an optical disc. They first start out with CDs, 700 megabyte. Then the DVDs, single layer, 4 gig, around, give or take, and dual layer with 8 gig. And now those Blu-rays are 50. It's a lot of space. And the reason why they went optical for a long time, and I'm rambling on, but, trying to bring us around why they stopped around Nintendo. This is the NES, and then they went to the Super Nintendo, Genesis, Game Gear, Game Boy, and everything is at the space. And the reason why they start going back to these over here, and where they stayed on these, is that they were smaller. They didn't have, the games weren't as big. But a new console, a newer console that would take cartridges. Would you buy it? Well, there's this thing called the Retro VGS, Retro Video Game System. It is the brainchild of Mike Kennedy, who started Retro Video Game Magazine. He also started GameGravel.com, worked with Steve, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, W-O-I-T-A, Wiotta. I've butchered that. He worked at Atari, Apple, Sega, Nintendo, EA, Activision, 3DO, a lot of games. There's a lot of games to his credit. Even one or two I know is right on the list. He worked on Sonic 2, and a lot of other ones. And he worked on a lot of the 3DO games for the Army Man games on the PlayStation. There's much more. I can't remember them all. And then they were also working with John Carlson. He created Sony PlayStation for emerging foreign markets, if I can talk. And I'm reading some of this from their website. I copied off here. And he created low cost software development for the Super Nintendo, the Saturn, the PlayStation, and the Jaguar. They're pretty impressive. And if you've looked at the website, which of course is down below, and you'll see these an image probably up here. You'll notice the thing looks familiar if you're familiar with all the old consoles. It looks like a Jaguar. Well, this company or this group of guys that are starting to form this company, it's been out for a little bit. They got a website and a Facebook page. They bought the tooling. And what is the tooling? If you watch how it's made, Discovery Channel, Science Channel, stuff like that, you'll notice injection molding where they actually push the two giant metal plates together. They inject the hot plastic into it. It has a cooling system, and it pops out, plastic mold, anything molded, anything. This is two parts. There's a seam right here. And the way they did is they molded this, and more likely maybe dipped this in, because this is a little older. It's scratched up. You can see it's not a very great copy, but it's Zelda. And the same with this little bad boy. It's smaller, it's tighter together, but they molded this stuff. But anyway, they bought the tooling for the Jaguar console and a cartridge. It saved them $500,000, they stated, and the insides though are going to be completely different. It's going to be a new console. It's not going to have an operating system. It's not Android. It's not a Ouya. It's not a Razer. It's not emulating. It's not a Retron 5. It's brand new. It will take cartridges. You plug them in, press the power button, boom. There you go. I've been watching this on and off for a little while, and you know, there's a promise of where it's going. It's coming. It's supposed to come to Kickstarter this July and August. Okay, we're in the middle of August. It's the 12th. I'm looking at the clock here. September 14th. It's been announced that they'll finally be hitting Kickstarter. They was wanting to wait till there's a real, fully working model, and you know, to sit there and actually show it off. So when they hit Kickstarter, it's actually something they can show. There's a lot of renders. They're showing a lot of it about. Of course, it's not physical, other than they show some videos of them molding the Jaguar cases and the Jaguar cartridges. So, yeah. Somebody may be still, watching this going, wow, a cartridge-based system in today's market. Well, if you think about it and you look over here, the only reason this disc exists is to get the game onto the hard drive of the Xbox One, same with the PlayStation 4, which, the two leading consoles right now. Tilt this down for you guys. And that's it. It runs off the hard drive. And the hard drive so far is one of the fastest things we got, other than solid state. Solid state would be ridiculously expensive, so that's why they don't put it in there. But back in the day, the biggest, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, I was seeing researching Nintendo 64 cartridges was 64 megabytes. 1,024 gigabytes equals a tera. What was it? 1,024 megabytes equals a gig. This is 50 gigs. And that cartridge, some of the cartridges that ended on, like Resident Evil 2 on the Nintendo 64, 64 megabytes. Very small. But times have changed. I was sort of pretty surprised because I looked this up. I'll put the link below, and it was to a website. It's off Wikipedia, but it's to a website that shows the rumored specs. But how much do you think this little cartridge holds? A few hundred megs? A gig? Now, I don't know about Luigi's Mansion. But what I'm finding is this little cartridge can hold 8 gigabytes. A dual layered DVD. That's ridiculous. Especially, and the other thing, everybody says, well, holy shit, I got a flash drive, I got a flash drive that holds just about as much. This is an old flash drive I got. It's old and broken. I actually don't even work. It's probably 8 years old. This was even back then cheap as 4 gigs. This is flash memory. It's read and writable memory. It's not meant for long-term storage. This is ROM, read-only memory. You ever know why it's called a CD-ROM when they first come out? A compact disc is a compact disc read-only memory. It's more expensive. It lasts longer. It can last for decades. I mean, this is nearly 30 years old, and this sucker boots up, or doesn't really boot up. It just immediately comes up and it works fine. It's got, these will last. I'm not saying they won't last for a while, but the only difference is, we can't play off discs no more, off CDs no more, or Blu-rays. The PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, you remember those games. Sometimes you sit there and hear the damn thing spinning like a damn helicopter because they're running and loading off the disc, and you got to where you just install the game. Or especially on the 360, the PS3, you install part of the game, and the 360 later on, you can install the whole game, and it made it so much better. And that's where they moved to. They just said, here's the game. It dumps it down there. So if a game console could come out and puts a good amount of storage on a cartridge, I mean, again, this is 8 gigabytes of theoretical maximum. Went the wrong way. 8 gigs. If a cartridge for a Jaguar cartridge is about this big, give or take, could you fit like three or four of these in there? 20, 30 gigabytes. That's 50. Shit, you can store a lot of data on it. I looked up the Vita. The card is actually, these are actually the cards, not cartridges. But the same thing, there's solid state memory. The Vitas are rumored to go up to 16 gigabytes. 2 whole dual layer DVDs. I mean, it's ridiculous the technology's gotten these days that solid state memory may be able to pass the optical memory, you know? Now, will it happen? No. Not, well, it won't do it on the mainstream because right now Blu-rays is what everybody understands, but a console like this that comes out and has a cartridge that says, hey, we have a solid state, setup. It's cheaper now. We can put lots of storage space out there, and it's cheap. You might see a later on system that might still have a hard drive, but might even put their stuff out on solid state. I'd like to see it. I think it'd be hysterical that it goes from solid state to optical, all the way back around in a full circle. Will it happen? I don't know. Probably not. Not anytime soon, but it would be kind of interesting. Well, okay, what is more about this system than I've been lamenting, however you want to say it, about, solid state and everything else, and people go, well, this is stupid. Why would I want to build a full console that has cartridges? Well, it's going to be a retro system that can do anything from the Atari 2600 to, I think, up and around the PlayStation 1 or 2. It's not going to be the most modern thing out there. But it's going to be open for everybody to develop for right out of the box. And it's already got about 8 games. And they're really 16-bit, 8-bit games, and they look really, really interesting so far. Shovel Knight is not confirmed for this system at all, but people love Shovel Knight. It's fucking 8-bit looking, but it's wonderful. Would you think it'd be awesome for a cartridge, a literal cartridge that you could hold in your hand and plug that sucker down there and just turn it on? There's no download. It's on. That'd be awesome. So what was this console going to have? There's a lot of specs that came out the last day or so, which I'm glad I kind of waited on this. It had 4 controller ports, 2 USB 2.0, that's fine. 2 of the DB9 connectors, the ones that look like Sega Genesis, Atari. So anything that plugs into those, it'll work with. Bring your own. The controller it's going to come with, I think, so far I'm seeing in the pictures, there's one I haven't seen, there's going to be 2. It's the Nintendo Wii U Pro controller. It has dual analogs, it's like a Super Nintendo, it's got all the triggers you need. And it's going to be retooled for them to be a little custom look to it, and it looks pretty damn cool. So what's the specs here? Well, let me tell you about the connections in the back. What can I connect to? Where do I connect this to? Is it all HDMI? Which, the Retron 5, mostly HDMI, has some other connectors. Can I go S-video? Can I do something else? Check this out. On the back are 2 more USB ports. 1 USB standard B. Those little USB ports that are square you saw on the printers? Yeah, they don't have one of those. It's made to connect straight to a PC. Now, it said PC. I don't know if it's going to be Mac or Linux capable, but you're going to be able to connect directly to it to allow for development. Connect directly to 2 systems. This doesn't have networking online. It's old school retro, so you'll be able to link 2 systems together. An HDMI out, which is up to 1080p, 60 frames a second, 1080p, 30, 720, 60 frames a second, depending on whatever mode the game maker wants to put in there, but it can output good resolution. RCA connections, it's good old standard connections. A power output for a Sony RFU module for connections to televisions with line in. 9-pin mini DIN, RGB or component using the Sega Genesis MK2/Nomad/32X cables. That one kind of confuses me, but you ever see the back of this, you can see it right next to the S-video, and it's the same type of connection that the 32X was using. Not sure what they're going to use for that. And then the last one is an S-video out. Reading some of the specs deep down, you can see that you can hook up 2 outputs at once, and you can have HDMI going to your TV and another output going to a capture device simultaneously and record your games. That's pretty cool. So, what is really underneath the hood? Okay, it's not going to be an Intel 8-core multi-gigs of memory, but it's not too shabby. It's a 32-bit ARM Cortex A8 at 1.2 gigahertz 3D processor and everything built onto the chip, and 1 gigabyte of 32-bit DDR 1600 RAM. And if you think about it, everybody goes, wow, that's not as much as the last, the consoles we got now. The PS4 and the Xbox One have 8 gigs of memory. Not all of it's usable by the games, but a good chunk of it is. But just this last generation, the Xbox 360 and the PS3 had 512 megs of RAM. That was it. They didn't have a lot. Now I'm thinking this ARM Cortex A8 may not be as powerful as CPUs, but it's not a slob. Look, if you go to YouTube and just look up the Cortex A8 ARM and demos, they're showing a lot of stuff. It's in tablets and it can push PlayStation 1 and 2 graphics. So, like I said, you can go from the Atari all the way up to PlayStation 1 or 2 and make games where you want. It's interesting. It's going to come with a game called Tiny Knight. It's not Shovel Knight, but it's something different. Sydney Hunter in the Caverns of Death. These are the rest of the ones that are confirmed. They've added more over time, and again, they'll keep telling us more about it. Read-only memories. A lot of the rest of these, except one of them here, is these are like Kickstarter games. They're on virtual consoles, even Wii U, and they're also going to release a Retro VGS cartridge. The same, read-only memories, Songbringer, Pierre Solar, Infernax, Adventures in the Tower of Light, and the weirdest one so far, if you've seen the AVG videos, Angry Video Game Nerd videos, is Super Noah's Ark 3D. Why? I don't know, but I guess it's just maybe a classic they want to put on there, but they already have people, committed to making games, and these games are going to be, in virtual console environments such as the Wii U, the PlayStation, the Xbox, but it's also going to be on a physical cartridge people are going to be able to hold. And I'm excited, but I'm also pessimistic, so I'm cautiously optimistic. September 14th, 2015, about a month from now, in a couple of days, we'll see the Kickstarter. We'll actually see the system. We'll see what the hell the thing can do. We'll see how much it costs. It better not cost a hotel in the lot. $200 would be the upper limit for me, and I'm not going to back it. I know I'm putting a video out back and go, well, you're not going to back it? Have you seen this? Have you seen the Kickstarters that have been failing? And it's not a bash toward people on Kickstarter. There's a lot of Kickstarters that do great, but I'm going to wait and see, and probably donate a little bit if it looks good. But what do you think? With a new console that actually is independent from all this, online and big, Call of Duties and Assassin's Creed, all the big, all these bigger games that we come to expect on these high-end systems, and with everybody, including myself, and digging out all these great old consoles and systems and plugging them up, and they still work 20 plus years later, and people loving this stuff. Would you buy a retro console with new games? From newer developers, even old developers. I saw a Facebook post, and I didn't dig into it. It's been so long, or been a while since they posted. They're going to contact the old people who own Data East. Remember Data East? Bad Dudes and all those games. There's a lot of developers that are not around anymore that might like to make these spiritual successors. You know what those are. Mighty Number 9 is the spiritual successor to Mega Man. Wonder if it comes to this console. It may not look as good because I've seen the stuff. It looks like it's used a lot of 3D. Then again, it might. It might look great. Just had to be toned down a little bit. May not. It may run perfectly fine. The new Castlevania game, which is really not a Castlevania game, it's a spiritual successor. Wonder if we can get a cartridge of that. A good Castlevania cartridge or spiritual successor of Castlevania cartridge in our hand. That'd be pretty badass. I don't know. I've been wanting to put the information out there about this. There's a lot. The specs finally dropped, and I'm just going on about the difference. I mean, we got night and day here of some of the original. Of course, Atari came before, and now the new stuff of where we've went, and now it's somebody's trying to go back to the good old days of cartridges, and from what they write, it's a lot cheaper. 8 gigabytes in this little chip. Damn. If we can put 4 or 5 of those in a cartridge, and I forgot this. It's got a FPGA in it. built into the cartridge. That's called a field programmable gate array. And I'm not a technician, I'm not an engineer, but what those are is it's got specific logic units, logic elements in it, and the chip is in the cartridge, and it's custom and programmable for what you want to do. The Super Nintendo had tons of chips, the Super FX 1, 2. I looked them up, I was going to talk about them, I'm almost 20 minutes here. Go to Wikipedia or just go Google and you'll find a Wikipedia page of chips that were in Super Nintendo games. It's a godly amount out there, and you think that the Super Nintendo did all of it. It didn't. A lot of stuff was augmented by chips inside the cartridge, and it says it's got 49,000 logic units built into the cartridge that will come on that this Retro VGS, and it's got another 380-something megs of memory just for it. People could make custom chips to do who knows what this could do. We could see a lot of cool stuff. So I'm over 20 minutes. I'm stopping. Leave me some comments below. Tell me what you think. Have you heard about this? Do you give a shit? Some people go, yeah, it's going to fail. It's the Kickstarter bullshit. Or do you think it's kind of cool? Do you think it will do something? I don't know. Let me know. Please subscribe, share. I appreciate everybody who's watching this. Thank you for watching. And I'm slowly growing some user base and viewer base, excuse me. And I appreciate everybody on Twitter, on YouTube. You know, I'm small, but I'm getting there. But, you know, leave some comments below. Follow me on Twitter. And just, you know, tell me what you think about this. Is this something you think will be cool or not? Picky Old Gamer, out.